All right, rock on. We are live. Hey guys, thanks for watching American Vindicta. Today is your sit rep. It is Monday, June the 2nd, 4:21 p.m. That's 16:21 hours for all you civilians out there. Um, Starting off, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who supports us, who watches us, puts up with me. I know I can get a little bit rambling and frustrated and crazy at times. But thank you guys for watching, all that stuff, sharing, commenting. If you have any questions, you can always hit us up at our email, americanvindictashow at gmail.com. And my wife will make sure that there is a part down there that'll be pinned at the top of all comments for prayer requests. So if you got prayer requests, if you've got praise report, which is always good to hear, please put it down there. Big hello and thank you to all the veterans out there. I don't care what branch of service you served in, how long you served for. I don't care what your MOS was. The fact that you were willing to sign your name on a dotted line for people. Um, I thank you for your service. There's a lot of drama going on right now within the online world of the special operations community. I hate to see it. All those guys are heroes. Every one of those guys are hard workers, amazing athletes, and wish we were a little bit more supportive of each other instead of trying to cut each other's throats left and right over who did what and what service. But that's the tale of the tape. So I got quite a long sit rep to go over. A lot has happened with Russia, which obviously is the main topic of the sit rep before we get on to the Bible study. Before we do any of that, I want to read you a comment or an email, excuse me, that was sent by a sister. I've been talking to her, and hopefully we've rectified some of the situation that she has. But I want to just share with you because this might have relatable information for you and maybe some of the things that I will be commenting on, maybe something that you may want to implement at your home. So we're going to have a story about how to better secure your home, raise that situational awareness, things you may want to consider doing to protect yourself. And this is mainly speaking out for you ladies, but gentlemen, if you got a wife, you got a family like I do, you need to take all things into consideration. Even if you're just a single male and you're the biggest and baddest and most jacked dude in the world, you are still susceptible to creeps, perverts, people trying to break into your home, people trying to harass you while you sleep. So let's get into this. She said, and we'll leave the names out, but said, I'm 63. I fight a severely deteriorating spine and extensive arthritis, though God is merciful. Well, just for starters, I know people who go through things like this. Some of you are brothers and sisters who are probably on this live right now. And my heart goes out to you. Be praying for these people. I'm in constant pain. It started this past winter, twice after dark. I had someone show up and start knocking on my door. She said, I live alone with my two dogs, one, an excellent watchdog, and the other, a great guard dog. I'm a big fan of dogs, especially if you use them for the actual desired purpose of security. Now, not all dogs are guard dogs, but most dogs are excellent watchdogs. Maybe not like the little wiener dog. It can barely see above your ankles, or the Chihuahua, but they're good alert dogs. That's the thing, is if you're sleeping in your bed at night and those little high pitched glass breaking, annoying, barks like my wife's two precious little teacup Yorkies, they will wake you up. And actually, I got woken up by one of them last night for alerting on something that there was nothing, but I'm glad I was alerted. Dogs, if you use them correctly, have a great benefit. Um, I think the only way you don't use a dog correctly, honestly, is if you abuse it. I am very much against people who abuse animals. But most dogs, once they get attached to you and that pack mentality starts, most dogs are going to take care of you. Most dogs are going to alert for you. Most dogs will try to protect you. So for me, in terms of security, besides the fact you got now another mouth to feed, dogs are still a win-win. It's a mobile, living security element that is a plus for you. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about dogs. So, said this guy knocks on her door late at night. They knocked for 5 minutes plus the first time. My friends don't visit either after dark, or my friends don't visit after dark, and no one had called me. I didn't answer it. Um, so just right there, let's just talk about just the random knocking. You must be so careful in today's day. I remember when I first became a federal cop working in New Jersey. For all my people who are in New Jersey, I'm super glad to not be in your state anymore. Love the food, did not like the laws or your politicians, which I think most of you could probably agree with. Some of the food is just amazing good though. Um, Someone's knocking on your door midnight, late at night. You don't know who they are. You don't have people normally visit you. You kind of live in a rural area. You need to be careful. It could be simply that someone broke down, they came to the nearest house, knocked on a door, cry for help. You would think that the typical average person would knock on the door politely and announce themselves, "Excuse me, hello, is anybody home? I need help." But if you don't hear that and you hear just the random knocking, 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 knocking for 5 minutes, something is wrong. Now, depending on how rural you are, which you'll learn more in the story, is actually not good. Law enforcement's nowhere near in sight. It's nowhere near in sight. For this sister, I believe she said it could be an hour to a half hour before a state trooper could respond. Ladies, and anyone who's listening, men, you're right there with us. If if this happens, the first thing is I'm gonna have my gun on me. The absolute first thing. The second thing I'm thinking about is there's someone circling this house while I'm being distracted by this door. As there's another person or group of people trying to find another way to gain entrance into my home. How many entrances do you have to your home? Do you lock your doors at night? Do you have an alarm system? Do you have cameras? Do you got dogs? All these things come into play. If you don't know who it is and you don't even feel safe with asking who it is, don't do it. I mean, you don't get points for being polite on the coroner's list after they're trying to pull the knife out of your chest. Well, they were really polite and then I stabbed them. So we don't want to see that. Keep situational awareness at all times. The first thing I would be doing if I get that unease, first things first, grab my gun. Being that it's nighttime, I typically have a gun that has a flashlight on it. I would show all of you it, but YouTube is stupid and this live stream would get banned. So you can get your standard Glock 19 or SIG or whatever kind of pistol you have, put a light on it. It's a good chance that you might actually use it. I always keep a spare flashlight on me in case I don't want to shine my flashlight on my pistol. If you ever come to any of our training courses, you'll know why. Because if you have, here's my little finger gun. If you've got a flashlight right here on your pistol, most people hold that gun right here and then shine it like this. If someone wants to shoot at you, they're probably going to aim, according to FBI statistics, right at that light, which is either going to strike you in the hand, center mass, or in the face. So here's a free training point for everybody. If you're ever in this situation, keep one gun in one hand, flashlight in the other. And I actually use the FBI technique quite a bit when I was in law enforcement. And it's to hold the flashlight away from your face, very far away from your face, and then shine the flashlight so that you're not silhouetted. Push the light just a little bit in front of you. Because if you hold it right here, the moment that light shines, it's hitting your torso, you're silhouetting yourself. Push that light in front of you. That way you're blinding them. They can't see your torso silhouette. And if they happen to shoot at you, they will unfortunately just shoot at the light and hopefully miss anything vital. Gives you a split second to do other actions. Um, but the second thing after grabbing my gun that I'd be doing, if I get that feeling in the Holy Spirit's telling me, hey, something's wrong here, call 911. Call 911, tell them who you are, where you're at, what you got, tell the troopers, sheriff's department, police department, step on it. And most of the time, law enforcement is going to haul butt to get to you. But 30 minutes is a long time. In our live fire shooting courses, we teach people how to completely dump that pistol magazine in just a couple seconds. So a lot can happen in just a couple seconds. 30 minutes is a freaking lifetime. If you know for a fact law enforcement's that far away, if you know for a fact you don't know who is there at that door, and you don't have a pistol or a rifle or a shotgun, grab something, anything to defend yourself. Wasp spray is a horrific thing to be sprayed in the face with. You're most likely going to destroy those people's eyes. Anything you can think of to defend yourself. And just remember, gun typically beats any type of melee object or edged weapon. So, you grab grandfather's old katana sword that he picked up from Iwo Jima, that's typically going to get beat by the average 9mm. So there's a use of force continuum here. You always got to have in present minds where we would train our cops. Whatever force is being presented at, I always want to make sure I go a little bit higher. All right. If they bring out knife, I'm going gun. If they bring out brick, I'm going gun. If they bring out baseball bat, large stick, I'm going gun. Most of you don't have the chemical irritant sprays. You don't have the taser devices. Most of you don't have any of the less than lethal chemical launcher systems. So you're stuck with just a couple options unless you are thinking ahead, because you can buy those and you can keep them depending on your state and your laws. Make sure you know where you're at and what you can and cannot do. But I strongly recommend, especially for women, get a gun, learn how to use it. If you're a senior, if you're an older person and you got problems with manipulating the slide action of a pistol, loading a magazine of a pistol, or if God forbid that pistol jams and you don't have the finger strength or dexterity to fix a malfunction in your pistol, just get a revolver. Just get a revolver. If my 78-year-old grandmother, she's going to kill me if she watches this. If my 78-year-old stepmother can shoot a 357 Magnum just fine with her arthritis, carpal tunnel, shoulder injuries, then I would think the average person can wield a gun just as easily. I always suggest for women to carry some sort of a revolver, a Magnum, because all you got to do typically is pull the trigger. If a round doesn't go off, just keep pulling the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger. Just remember, you typically only have 6 shots, so make them count. All right, so grab gun, call police, find a safe place to hide or to barricade yourself. Most of the time, we think we're going to go straight into our room and we're going to barricade ourselves. If you live on the first floor, if you only got a one-story home and you've got windows all around you. You've got to be now ever cognizant of those windows. They're just entry points. They're just waiting to be broken. So you need to be thinking about, where is the place in my home that is the hardest spot for someone to get to me and the easiest spot for me to defend. I don't want to what if this all day, because what if answers never end. The worst thing you could worry about is if someone set your house on fire and you could not escape that hardened position. But you need to think of these things because people do stupid things like this. People do these type of crazy things. So always be ever cognizant. I don't want to make myself an easy lunch meal for the bad guy. I want to always have the ability to fight back to the death if needs be. And I want a communication line to someone on the outside. I would call police, let them know, tell them what I got. And if you know your neighbor, then immediately call your neighbor. Hey, this is happening. Can you come over to me? Issue with a lot of people right now is that a lot of people don't know their neighbors. They don't talk to their neighbors. They don't have someone they can rely on. Some of us need to get outside of our uncomfortable stance of wanting to be a loner and reach out with the love of Christ, talk to your neighbors, and just tell them, especially if you are elderly and you've got injuries. Hi, this is me. Um, if anything ever happens, I'm not asking you to come mow my yard, change light bulbs. If anything ever happens, could I call you to come and check the outside of my house? You'll know pretty much right then, yes or no, if that's a wise decision. Talking to that certain person, you may need to move on to another house. But the advantages are typically there unless you live on like 100 or 200 acres by yourself. And if you choose to live by yourself, you better be able to self rescue and handle your business. All right, moving on. Um, she said, last night I got to bed late, about 12:20 a.m. I'd say 12:25, 12:30. Someone started to knock on my window above my head. This is something different in my book. I looked up the sexual predators in the area surrounding me. I know one of them from seeing him and his mom in the local urban gas station. They haven't been around for 6 months plus, and he's a trucker. She lives alone in the forested area of Maine. So, if you've got someone tapping on your window right above where you sleep, here's a few thoughts and suggestions. Don't put your bed where you lay your head underneath a window. I would rather put my bed against a solid wall where I can look out and see that window, because if needs be, hopefully I'm quicker at grabbing gun and recognizing what's happening than someone who just has to look down at me and do this. So be thinking about these things. I know it's typically not something that any of us should really worry about or want to worry about, but you live in a crazy world that is promising you weirdness and violence. You better start thinking in a more hardened security manner. Um, and also in terms of looking up sexual predators, crimemapping.com is a good website. You can try going and talking to your local police. You may or may not get anything out of that. But at least when you use sites like crimemapping.com, LexisNexis is another one that you have access to. LEXUS Nexus, NEXUS. You, depending on your police department, if they're putting in all of the crime stats within your area, you should be able to go and generate a crime stat report yourself and see what your local vicinity looks like, and then continue to march outward and get a better situational awareness of where's the most amount of crime at, what's the most amount of crime that's happening. So She says, Maine, from what I've read, has good laws if you have a no trespassing sign. People typically don't care about a no trespassing sign. When they see dog will bite you sign, that typically makes people think twice. So let me talk real quick about hardening the outside of a home. All right, these are things that at once upon a time we were subject matter experts in the federal government of trying to harden federal facilities and implementing all different types of protective stances and measures for them, though none of them ever listened. One of the best things you can do for your home is to install the brightest lights possible on the exterior of your home facing outward. Make sure if you have a fence, if you have a gate, like a vehicle gate, that you've got lights pointed towards that fence, pointed towards that gate, let's just the vicinity of your home, because typically crime happens and people who commit crime will happen during areas where there is not a lot of light, during hours of night and darkness for concealment and for ambush or for monitoring and watching you. So we can take that away by installing lights. You can just as easily go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or Walmart and get those little solar $10 lights and set them up every 10 feet and then shine them on your fence, shine them on your gates, and that is what we would call deterrence. The light from your home would be also considered deterrence, but what that does is that also gives you a gap in time. If I see it, especially if I've got a camera and it's watching, I now know from my driveway and road to my home, the closest vicinity proximity of my home, I now know who's coming. I should know how long it should take for them to get to me. If I can monitor and observe them, I can watch what they're doing. I can report to police about it. I can give an accurate description. And if you got a night vision camera, you're at least also catching this all on video. And make sure if you're going to get any type of camera system, you got something that does record at night with clarity. You've got something that will record audio. I know for a lot of people, they want to install all their security systems themselves. I get it. I do that. But understand that it is better for recording if you have a hard lined camera. A hard line means you have a DVR set up for recording, and there are transmission lines that go to each camera. So that way you have instant feedback every frame per second on that camera. If you have a wireless system, here's some tips for you. Wireless systems can have sometimes a 3 to 4 minute lag time, depending on how strong your internet is or weather conditions. If it's rainy, if it's windy, if there's a storm approaching, all these things can deter the transmission and you may have lag time. A 4-minute lag time to someone who's about to kick it open your door and you're still looking at them at the fence line is not a good thing. Um, one of the things I would stress most people to attempt to do if you have the possibility, if you're looking at installing a security system, I'm just gonna tell you to call ADT. Some people like them, some people don't. We know in the federal government, ADT was a, um, a private component that we would use and we would hire them and install most of everything we need, mainly because they have some of the top model cameras. They'll come out there and they'll clean them. They will replace any camera that's broken. They will replace any camera that's old and that's been phased out. They have a 24-hour reporting site, so it's recording 24/7. If there is an alarm system, because if you're going to set up cameras, please set up an alarm system as well. Make sure you have as many layers of this security as possible. If someone tries to open a door, make forceful entry, try to go through a window with forceful entry, glass break alarms, 360 passive infrared sensors that are also alarms built in with cameras. All these things are just more strengths to add into that development of what should be considered your castle. It would be a great thing if you're a heavy sleeper like me to be able to have a 24-hour dedicated call center call and say, "Hey, X, Y, and Z, whoever you are, we're getting an alarm from the west wing of your home at, this window alarm. Are you okay? Do we need to notify the police? Get up, go and see what it is. Nothing. Nope. It was the wind. It was a dog. A limb hit it or whatever. But I would rather have that in my back pocket all times than to just hope and guess and see how it turns out. So, fences, gates, lights, alarms, cameras, dogs. That's the way our security's set up. That's the way we set up a lot of security for most places. Most federal DoD installations don't use dogs because typically those dogs that they would use are dedicated security staff. So you got to think about these things if you're going to live on your own. If you got a family, if you've got high valued objects like really valuable cars, if you're a person who is very wealthy and you live alone, it does not take a lot to investigate and see who you are, what your assets are, to use a simple hacker system. And you can pay people to hack into your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your anything that you have a job put on there, type of social media, and find out who you are and what you're worth. There's been actually a couple different YouTube celebrities who have been murdered in their homes by stalkers who found out through either hacking or just word of mouth because some people just talk too much about what their net worth is. And I remember the one case, I believe you can go on YouTube and actually watch this. One was a girl, she was in Houston, and 2 guys decided she was worth $30 million. They were coming to go get her, either hold her hostage or they thought all $30 million was sitting somewhere, in her home. It's not hard for people to do reconnaissance on you, to follow you, to monitor what you do, to see what you buy. If you're a guy who's constantly getting ammunition coming into your house, prepper items coming into your house, people will pay attention to that Amazon truck and how many times they deliver to you and the size of the boxes. And bad people will start adding up things really quickly. And like I said, they'll either wait till you leave, bust into your house, or wait till the hours of darkness, try to gain entry, or wait till a storm hits, try to gain entry. This is the world we live in. You cannot sit here and say, well, I live in such and such, great town. These things never happen. The amount of horrific stories that you can go on and read or that I've read from police reports in a town where this should never happen and it happened is staggering. She says, I have night vision, but no helmet. Um, I removed the old rusted pickaxe from my yard and put it in my shed. I don't want anything heavy out there to be used against me. Those are all actually really good things to say. She has night vision, but no helmet. You don't need a helmet to use night vision. If anything, if you cannot afford night vision, I'm going to tell you right now to get a FLIR. Uh, Sitting in my plate carrier right there. I keep one on my plate carrier. I keep a little thermal monoculator. It's about this big. Ready Made Resources are number one sponsor and good friends of us. They sell all these types of things. Josh Griswold at Ready Made Resources, him and I are going to be doing a podcast here pretty soon. Had to get a new camera, but this will be the first time he's been able to do a podcast since his father, Bob Griswold, passed away. And now he's taken up the mantle. So super proud of him. Please get out there and support him. Great family, great guy. But he can answer all those questions on the technicalities, the devices they have, and what might be your best bang for your buck. But I would be using a FLIR because a FLIR will see through almost everything except for windows and water. Night vision is great. If you don't know how to use it, it's a pain. You can't just buy a night vision device and keep it in its bag and never learn how to use it. One of the things we tell people all the time at our training is when you show up, whatever gear you've got, if and this is no dig on anybody, it happens. Whatever gear you got, if you don't know how to set it up, you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to troubleshoot it, you don't know how to put the protective ears onto your helmet, the night vision onto your helmet. Or if you just have night vision, you don't really know how to use it and the ways to gainfully use it, offensively, defensively, please bring it. We'll show you. It's part of our jobs, what we like to do. But there's a little bit of an epidemic out there of people buying things and not just knowing how to use them. I will say YouTube is a plethora of knowledge. Please use that if you've got night vision. You don't know how to use it, go straight to YouTube and say, "How do I use this night vision device?" You'll probably have 100 different videos pop up with people troubleshooting it for you and teaching you how to do it for free. She said, "I removed the old rusted pickaxe from my yard and put it in my shed." That's a great point. Anytime you have any type of construction tool objects that are out there that could be used to gain force entry either through a window or through a door, maybe even damage your car, have them all put up in your shed. If you can, lock it. Um, if you have any type of objects that sit real close to your house that would allow someone to gain any type of foothold into your roof or into the second story of your home, you need to remove it. Remove ladders, remove large boxes. One of the things we tell people when I was still in the federal government is if you got a fence, I want to see a 10-foot clear from the outside of that fence to the inside of that fence. So that way, when you look at your perimeter fence, you can clearly see about 20 feet of a cleared zone. We don't want dumpsters there. We don't want ladders there. We don't want a tree that hangs over that someone could climb up and spider monkey their way over. You want something very clear. You want that fence to be the standalone object. Um, Said I plan on getting one of the padlocks that are hard to cut to put on my electric box. God led me to do that in Colorado so no one could easily cut my power at night and I come out unsuspecting. This is a woman who's really thinking, and I love reading it. Yeah, your any type of uh, electric box that you have outside, try to keep it under lock and key to the best of your ability. Said I have two daytime bright small O-light flashlights. I've got a bunch of those things hidden all over the place if my kids aren't playing with them. They really light up my yard at night. Okay, so once again, really lighting up my yard at night means I have to go outside and I have to present myself to the unknown darkness. And you better consider every time you go outside your house, it is uncleared. You don't know what is there. Do not think just because it's my house and because it's my yard, and I do this 1,000 times a week, that there's no one hiding there. There's no ambush set up and that no one is watching you. If you can just flip on a light and it looked like a freaking, a lighthouse, shining throughout the entire area, then that means I don't have to go outside. I don't have to present myself, and I can still keep myself concealed on the inside of my house. And honestly, once you go outside, you're hearing knocking on your door, knocking on your window. You better be armed with something. And if you feel like I don't need to go outside, trust the Holy Spirit. Do not go outside. Grab whatever you can to defend yourself, call 911, call a neighbor, find a hard location inside your house that you can easily defend and see people, and sit tight. She says, I'm surrounded by woods and bogland. It sounds like where I grew up, except not bogland, but swamps. The one neighbor I know is and trust is seasonal, so he comes in there periodically. Says unless a policeman happens to be in the area, it could be an hour and a half to a couple hours for someone to show up. That sounds a lot like where me and my wife grew up at. The real guy who was the law for our county was the game warden. Occasionally, a state trooper would go by, but the deputies are 2 towns away, and it's about a 45-minute drive. There's 2 things Maine has not spent a lot of money on. One is police, and 2 is speed limit signs. In Texas, speed limit signs are more like a suggestion, apparently by the flow of traffic. If it says 80, apparently it really means 95. So, I know everyone at the local gas station. There's a guy she knows that works the afternoon there, grew up there, knows a lot of people. There's a good source of information. You go to gas stations, you go to bookstores, you go to restaurants. It doesn't hurt to ask the random person sitting there, "Hey, have you noticed any weird people coming in and out? Have you heard any violence coming in and out? Have you heard of anyone, with homes being broken into? Have cops stopped and asked anything?" These are all freebies. All you gotta do is ask, and it's to gain your situational awareness. You don't know until you ask. She said there's definitely a Wiccan occult practice that's happening within her area. Man, that is, like, more common every day that I hear this type of stuff because it happened to us. So 2 towns away is a Kundalini retreat. Wow. Um, the woman who runs it is part of the town's founding family and is well known, and I don't mean locally. Yeah, that you'd be surprised at what your average small town contains. Says I live in a town of about 400. That sounds just like the town me and my wife grew up in Colmus Neal, Texas. About half are Amish. I know some of the Amish are into the occult. I don't know about here. Uh, requesting prayer, other precautions to take. I recorded everything that's happened, keeping my neck on a swivel. Hope I wasn't too wordy. You weren't too wordy, sister. And if you have any questions like this, if you got any weird things going on like this, and if there's a way I can help you, you want to email us, please, by all means. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. And if I can't help you, then I will try to find someone who can, or try to give you the best information that I can. Um, it's not beyond me to try and help people. All right, so I don't want to say good story, but it's a good training event. Long story short, before we get to the sit rep, make sure that before you go to sleep, your lights stay on the exterior. Um, it's really cheap to have a radio playing outside on whatever station is playing. All these things typically deter people. Dogs seem to be one of the best, most widely used agents of deterrence for criminal activity. Outside of that, make your house look like this is not the place you want to go to. And yeah, man, situational awareness. Keep your head on a swivel. All right, on to the sit rep, which is lengthy, very lengthy. All right, starting with Russia. A terrorist attack in Bryansk, Russia. A bridge was blown up. There's now been 2 bridges blown up by the Ukrainians. And one of them was while a passenger train was traveling along it from Moscow to Kilmova. 30 plus injuries were reported. The death toll has now rose to 7. The Kursk governor reports that there were 2,287 civilians that went missing under the Ukrainian occupation. So these are people that are either fleeing the area, still under rubble, or being abducted, or they're just in intense hiding. Either way, Ukraine is a very good study. It's a very unfortunate and heart-wrenching study of just how violent this new age war is getting, and we're about to get into it. So far, 1,290 people have been located, 304 civilians are confirmed dead, 576 still remain unaccounted for, to include children. Russian investigators are continuing to uncover signs of war crimes in what they're calling the liberated areas, which are also called oblast. Over in Israel, Netanyahu is to block a landmark visit by Middle East ministers to the West Bank. He says Israel will not cooperate with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, or Turkey as they plan for talks on establishment of a Palestinian state. Netanyahu responds to the IAEA report saying that Iran's nuclear program is not a peaceful one, calls it a clear warning sign that Tehran, determined to complete its nuke program, and the international community must act now to stop Iran. The International Atomic Energy Agency has published a stark and unequivocal report on Iran's nuclear program. The agency presents a disturbing picture that is a clear warning signal, despite countless warnings from the international community. Iran is absolutely determined to complete its nuclear weapons program, so says the IAEA. The report unequivocally reinforces what Israel has been saying for years. The goal of Iran's nuclear program is not for peace. This is evident from the alarming scale of Iran's uranium enrichment activity. Such a level of enrichment exists only in countries working to obtain nuclear weapons and has no civilian justification. The report clearly indicates that Iran continues to violate its core obligations under the Treaty of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons Act and continues to avoid cooperating with agency inspectors. So they have let some inspectors into Iran, but there are some facilities that is an absolute no. And one of the things that I've been hearing American politicians talk about is that if there's going to be a deal, Iran must destroy, deactivate, and disassemble all their nuclear enrichment facilities, and they must allow access at any point in time to inspectors, which is probably not going to happen. All right, so there was a viral footage of an IDF convoy, so a convoy, the Israeli Defense Force convoy that slammed into a transportation van in the West Bank city of Jenin. There's a lot of activity that's been going on in the city right now. People screamed as vehicles grind against each other. The IDF had two armored troop carriers, better known as MRAPs, that deliberately struck the rear driver's side of a transportation van. The first armored vehicle clipped the end of the van, causing what happened appeared to be minor damage, but the second larger armored troop carrier rammed into the van with the intent of causing severe damage to the rear end of the vehicle, making it inoperable. And I watched this video. You only have to watch it a couple times to see both leading vehicles rammed this van. Now, I understand being in combat operations that when you're in the middle of a terrorist hotbed, you don't just want to putt around. You want to get in, get your mission done, and get out of there. But you will only ruin what you're trying to do by trying to gain the people's side, the whole hearts and minds thing, which was a miserable fail. You're only going to ruin what you're trying to do by just deliberately running into people's cars, especially what it looked like was like that guy's business of transporting people. And it doesn't set a good precedence. If they were being attacked, if they were having to respond to something and get there in a hurry, I can understand why that might happen. But if there's no other reason and you just deliberately did it because either you don't like the people, you don't respect them, or whatever the cause is, you're only going to gain more enemies. You're only going to make newer enemies because the youth watches this. The youth are the next generation of potential, violent extremists. Um, Israel, I think you need to do a better job at how you're handling a lot of these situations. It's just my opinion. Over in Nigeria, this was a horrible video to watch. People are dead and missing after a massive flooding hit Nigeria. It looked like a tidal wave coming down the road. Death toll from the devastating Nigerian floods where a dam broke is now up to 175 people. And the situation apparently is deteriorating and being made much worse. Over in America, Lindsey Graham is set to push his anti-Russia sanctions bill. I think it's like a $5 billion bill. He's already tired of peace talks, apparently. He said, enough of talking. It's now time to act. Putin's going to be hit hard by the United States. And there lies the gist of what we're going to talk about once we're done with this SITREP. I think Lindsey Graham is one of the most dangerous politicians in American history who has no issue with going to any country and threatening to kill people, destroy people. I think he just recently said to drop a nuke in Gaza. Whoever it is that keeps voting for this man, you guys are just as bad as he is. Trump doubles tariffs on steel coming into the US. I believe last time I looked at a report, if you're a steel worker, please correct me here, but I think like 60 to 70% of our steel at one point in time, because of Obama, was imported by China. So most likely that's what these tariffs are set to hit. So now the steel um, tariff is up to 50%. So we'll see how that does with international relations. The Pentagon is giving all transgender military service members in the U.S. military until June 6th to voluntarily resign. After that, the military is expected to begin involuntary separations for active duty trans service members who remain. Democratic politician Jerry Nadler had his office raided by DHS, who arrested one of his staffers after they were caught hiding rioters during police operations. Warms my heart. Jerry Nadler is another one of these just influential problems that I have no idea how this guy continuously gets elected, but he is literally anti constitutional and anti America. I don't understand what the Democratic Party's thought process here. Like, if you ever want to get a man into the White House, you're doing everything possible to not do it, which is suspect to me. You're doing everything possible to align yourselves with criminality, terrorism, communism, socialism, heathenism, reprobatism, and so yeah. We'll see what happens to the Democratic Party. In 2020, there was a Tennessee senator, I think, who said that the Democratic Party should be made illegal. Now, not that I don't fancy that, but it smacks of what other dictatorial countries do. And it's a slippery slope. We'll watch it. Uh, Most of you might have saw the update that we did on our post for the YouTube channel about the Boulder City attacker. So we got some more news on it. Most of you probably know this already. The Boulder City attacker who set pro Israel marchers on fire with Molotov cocktails and a makeshift flamethrower. The attacker was identified as a 45-year-old Mohammed Solomon, an Egyptian man who was also an illegal alien who gained access into the country during Biden's failed presidency. And I do mean failed. 8 women were set on fire. One of them was actually a Holocaust survivor. One woman was, from the reports from eyewitnesses, was covered, quote, head to toe in flames. The FBI has called this a targeted terror attack. Thankfully, everyone was sent to the hospital and there were no fatalities. So let's all pray for a quick and speedy recovery for all these people. Trump has asked Palantir to compile data on American citizens. Let's read this article. This is probably one of the most interesting freaking things I have read in a while. And we've warned about Donald Trump and his ties to the technocratic elite, and now we get to see it be made manifest. The Trump administration, and this is coming from newrepublic.com, the Trump administration is collecting data on all Americans, and they are enlisting the data analysis company Palantir to do it. If you didn't think everything that you researched, phone call, text message, email, Zoom call, if you didn't think it was being monitored, you're not keeping up with the current state. It all is. New York Times reports that President Trump has enlisted the firm, founded by far-right billionaire Peter Thiel, to carry out his March executive order instructing government agencies to share data with each other. The order has increased fears that the government is putting together a database to wield surveillance powers over the American public. Anybody say Patriot Act? Since then, the administration has been very quiet about these efforts, increasing suspicion. Meanwhile, Palantir has taken more than $113 million in government grants spending since Trump took office from both existing contracts and new ones with the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security. That number is expected to grow, especially given that the firm just won a new $795 million contract with the Department of Defense last week. Palantir is speaking with various other agencies across the federal government, to include the Social Security Administration, everybody's favorite, the IRS, about buying its technology, according to the Times. Palantir's Foundry tool, which analyzes and organizes data, is already being used at DHS, and at the Department of Health and Human Services, and at least two other agencies, allowing the White House to compile data from different places. The administration's efforts to compile data began under Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency initiative, which sought Americans' personal data from multiple agencies, including the IRS, Social Security, Selective Service, Medicare, and many others. Yes, the government is still spying on you. In some cases, court orders hindered these effects, but not in all of them. Thiel has multiple ties to Doge, both through Musk and through many of his former employees working for the effort or taking other jobs in the Trump administration. And this data collection effort could give Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Donald Trump unprecedented power over Americans, with the president being better able to punish his critics and target immigrants. Privacy advocates, student unions, and labor rights organizations are among those who have sued to stop Trump's data collection efforts. I never thought I would agree with them, but yes, I actually agree with that. Palantir's involvement also gives a powerful technological company access to this data, and its CEO, Alex Karp, doesn't exactly have a benign agenda, hoping to cash in on America's techno-militarism. Musk has two plans for government data, using his artificial intelligence Grok to analyze it. Will anyone be able to stop Trump and these tech oligarchs? So, yeah, that's interesting. Um, Palantir is probably one of the biggest, most used military industrial complex organizations currently in Ukraine. Palantir helped Zelensky, if I'm correct, in setting up their digital ID system as well, which, if you just ask my honest opinion and probably many others, that is definitely coming for America. Eventually, one day, everything that you do, everything that's recorded about you, all the information you typically give to the DMV and Social Security or whatever will all be on one ID. And, well, we know what eventually goes down the road from there. It goes from an ID to being in a watch to being in your phone to being on your hand or in your forehead. Oh, good news. JP Morgan Chase, CEO, urges the United States to stockpile guns, tanks, planes, drones, rare earth minerals, and ammunition instead of cryptocurrency. Yeah, good news, right? All good things coming in our future is what we're reading about. Next, we'll read about the military operations that are being prepared for a potential confrontation with China in the Indo Pacific. This is from Vigilant Heroes. The U.S. is sharpening its edge in the Pacific. The United States Marine Corps and the Army Missile Forces deployed to a strategic Philippine island chains as part of exercise Commandag 9 and with a focus on anti-ship precision in one of the world's most vital maritime choke points, the Luzon Strait. Connecting the South China Sea and the Philippine Sea, the Luzon Strait is the main route for Chinese naval forces moving from mainland bases to deep Pacific waters. It also is a key corridor for global shipping, including energy supplies and military logistics. Control here means leverage over sea lines and of communication, that's the underwater lines, and critical military access routes. Now that the narrow 250-kilometer wide corridor is under watch, the Marine Corps Nemesis Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System finally they found a cool acronym to use. I say cool, just being from the military and the government, most of the acronyms are stupid, make no sense. And the Army's HIMARS, High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, will rehearse maritime strike missions between Taiwan and Luzon. The 3rd Marine Littoral Regiment, which is my alma mater, so that was 3rd Marines out of Hawaii, um, and their Nemesis battery was airlifted to the Batons area. So I would say we are definitely on par with still trying to do something about potentially fighting China. Over in Haiti, the world's most friendliest, safest island, Haitian security forces have conducted drone strikes targeting gang members in Port-au-Prince. I've been to Port-au-Prince. It's a lovely place during this time of the year. Uh, I felt safer in Iraq than I did in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Port-au-Prince off the chain. It is filled with nonstop violence. And when I was watching the videos that were being conducted by the Haitian security forces, drone striking their own people, you know it's getting real bad because besides the high part of the mountain where then begins the Dominican Republic, which typically the Dominican Republic sets up military blockades and doesn't let anyone go across the mountain. Um, Haiti is off the chain right now. Do not go to Haiti. Over in France, a car plowed into pedestrians in the Cours Jean Jaurès in Grenoble, France, during an unrest amid celebrations following the final match between the PSG dash Inter soccer hooligans, I'm guessing. 4 people were injured in the incident, 3 of them were seriously injured. Since the riots have began in France after I believe it's a soccer match, there have been 559 arrests during the championship league matches and 2 people were killed during it. And finally, on to Ukraine. Major Ukrainian first-person view drone swarm has hit the Russian air bases. Most of you should know what's going on right now if you keep abreast of these situations. If not, what I'm about to explain to you is now being dubbed Russia's Pearl Harbor event, which means one of a few things. Putin knows the West is coming for him. Putin has only so many options. The oligarchs are only going to give him 2 options. Those 2 options are fight back with everything, or we're getting rid of Putin and we're negotiating with the West, because the oligarchs want to stay in their bastions that they have over there. They want to keep all their money. Massive first-person view drone attacks struck in Oleana and Belova air bases. Several of the Russian Tu-95MS strategic bombers are on fire and were destroyed. That's the Russian Bear nuclear bombers. That's part of their nuclear triad system. So you have underground intercontinental ballistic missiles, seaborne intercontinental ballistic missiles, which for them would be in their submarines. And then you have what are your air assets that can then deploy some sort of a nuclear attack as well. Well, what was hit was the Air Force nuclear position. So that's the third arm of the nuclear triad. This is a super big deal. If this happened to America, we're immediately coming to flatten anyone who did that. Anyone. And everyone attached to them. Because that's not just an attack upon our military or our sovereignty. That would be an attack upon the United States as a whole for our ability to have a proper defense posture. Over 40 Russian warplanes were reportedly hit in this massive attack by the Ukrainian drone strike, which just goes to show you when we read about the efficacy of this drone strike and how they did what they did, drones are really starting to worry me. I mean, they were worrying me a year and a half ago when they were using drones to 1v1 Russian soldiers, and Russian soldiers were using them to hit Ukrainian soldiers. But now this has gone a whole new level. Ukraine's SBU, that's like their KGB, has launched a major drone operation. I believe it's like their KGB. If not, please correct me. Reportedly damaging more than 40 Russian aircraft, including the A-50, the Tu-95, and the Tu-22 M3 bombers. The operation, dubbed Web, may have caused over $2 billion in damage. It's a total failure of Russia's strategic airfield security. There were no hangars, no jamming, and no armed guards present when this attack occurred. There were massive losses in terms of cost effectiveness. Ukraine, in June 1st, 2025, sabotage operation now has few equals. The amount of ordnance that they used from these drones, I believe, and we may read a little bit more in the article, was around like $20,000 to $30,000, and they destroyed billions of dollars of aircraft. In contrast, so a single first-person view drone used by Ukraine costs about $300 to $600. In contrast, a modernized Russian Tu-95MS strategic bomber is valued at $100+ million. This is over a 100,000 times cost gap effectiveness. Videos have surfaced from social media of the original launching of the attack, which actually happened inside of Russia. It appears Ukrainian drones were launched from a parked trucks that had remained, 4 parked trucks that had remained in place for hours to target Russian strategic air bases. Ukraine hit at least 4 Russian air bases, 1 truck assigned to each air base. Russian aircraft are currently burning, and this was yesterday, currently burning at Belaya, um, Digolavio, Diglavio, Oleana, and Ivanovo air bases. It's one thing that's very interesting that this video shows that some trucks from which the Ukrainian first-person view drones were launched against Russian air bases. After the final drone launch, a self-destruct mechanism then activated, destroying the vehicle, which was the launching platform. Videos surfaced of the driver of the truck that launched the one of the trucks that had launched the first-person view drones that was found strangled with the cord still wrapped around his neck, and that was a hard video to watch. Ukrainian sources claim that 3 Russian Tu-95 MS bombers were reportedly hit or destroyed at the Belaya Air Base in Irkutsk region, which is 4,300 kilometers away from Ukraine. I believe this place is actually closer to Serbia. 4,300 kilometers. That's like 15,000 miles or something. I don't know. Kilometers are stupid. Irkutsk is a major city located in the eastern Siberia, Russia. A Russian local from Siberia describes how a truck was parked near the Russian air base. Its roof then opened up and drones started launching out of it, one after another. The crew then left, and the kamikaze drones began flying out to strike the bombers. Ukraine's SBU Operation Web is said to have taken 1.5 years to prepare for this. Ukraine's SBU spent over 18 months planning this massive web operation that struck 41 Russian strategic aircraft. President Zelensky personally oversaw the mission with the SBU chief, Vasily Malyuk, I think, leading the execution. Sources say that the complex logistics involved smuggling the drones and the trucks and mobile wooden cabins into Russia. The drones were hidden under remote controlled roofs on trucks. When triggered, the roofs then opened and kamikaze drones launched towards the Russian bombers. SBU insiders stress that all operatives involved are already safely back in Ukraine, except for maybe one. Any arrests by Russian authorities will likely be staged for domestic propaganda. This is coming from Ukraine. Last year, Ukrainian military intelligence scanned Russian bomber aircraft and trained the artificial intelligence that they're using to recognize them and execute automatic dive attack algorithms. So here we go. Drones and AI being used right now openly on the battlefield. And they were making movies about this 10, 20 years ago. And now it's happening. 2 Ukrainian drone launching trucks did not reach their destination, but did blow in place. Ukraine did not notify the Trump administration of the Russian airbase attacks in advance. That's a source coming from Axios. Russian sources claim the geolocation shows Ukrainian drones used in the airbase attacks were assembled inside a rented warehouse inside of Chelyabinsk, Russia. They claim that the facility lies just near the Kazakhstan border, which possibly was a supply route for components. Trump administration was not aware that today's large-scale drone attack by Ukraine on the Russian military mission or Russian military aircraft was coming. That's from a CBS News source. Elon Musk then reacts to this operation by Ukraine and Russia, and he says drones are the future of warfare. Manned aircraft are not. Zelensky says in total, 117 drones were used in the operation, and the corresponding number of drone operators worked for it. 34% of strategic cruise missile carriers at the airfields were hit. Our people operated in different Russian regions in 3 time zones, and our people were taken out of Russian territory on the eve of the operation. Now they're safe, those who helped us. Zelensky also says the office of our operation in Russia was located directly next to the FSB, which is the new KGB headquarters in one of their own regions. More than 40 strategic aircraft were destroyed from the Russians. Russian Foreign Ministry Minister Lavrov had a telephone conversation with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, discussed the situation related to the crisis in Ukraine. Donald Trump and his administration were not warned of the Ukrainian attack on Russia ahead of time. And in fact, that night, last night, as I'm reading this, you have people from Russia and from Ukraine landing in Istanbul, Turkey for peaceful negotiation talks. I don't see how peace comes from you attacking one of the nuclear triads of the second most powerful country in the world. So, just some information on what was hit and why it's so vital. These are the Russian aircraft that were designated as targets. Key roles of the A-50, the Tu-95, the Tu-22M3 aircraft in Russia's military strategy. The Bariv A-50, or mainstay, Russia's flying radar and command post, acts as an airborne early warning system, which is our AWAC, is what we would call it here in America. Tracks aircraft, tracks cruise missiles, and more at long distances, coordinates fighter jets and air defense like the S-400. For vital situational awareness, that's when they deploy the same, but Russia has very few of these, making each one almost irreplaceable. Now, Russia, I believe, every month is building 2 bombers to either make a larger air force or to replace aging ones, but I think this just stepped up the next series of events. The Tupolev Tu-95, or Bear, a Cold War icon that's still a nuclear threat, is a long-range strategic bomber and cruise missile carrier, core part of Russia's nuclear triad and used in conventional strikes. Known for extreme long range, up to 15,000 kilometers, and modernization to extend service, frequently used to signal power near NATO airspace. Then we have the Tupolev Tu-22M3 Backfire, Russia's supersonic strike workhorse. Designed for land attack and anti-ship missions, can carry nuclear or conventional weapons. Fast, maneuverable, heavily used in conflicts from Syria to Ukraine. The modernized version of the Tu-22M3M, which is still in limited service. Together, these 3 aircraft form the backbone of Russia's strategic air power, and they're spanning surveillance, long-range bombing, and precision strike capabilities. Losses in this fleet will deeply impair Russia's global reach and their deterrence capabilities. Russia's war bloggers urge Oroshenk missile strikes on Kiev. I believe that's their hypersonic missile. After massive first-person drone attack on 4 Russian military bases. So the Oroshenk missile that they're talking about, this is the capabilities of it. It's the Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile, or IRBM. Its speed is reportedly Mach 10 or Mach 11. It can travel between 1,000 to 5,500 kilometers, believed to carry a MIRV, or multiple reentry independently targeting reentry vehicle, which basically, I've got a picture here of it. If you don't know what a MIRV is, this is horrible to have to do this, but that's what a MIRV is. So It's a missile that gets launched into the air, the warhead breaks off, and then it has multiple warheads set inside of it. Sometimes some of those warheads are there to distract incoming surface to air missile defenses, and so it's to assure at least a couple of the nukes still hit the targets. They're they're horrible. I don't know why we ever made weapons like this. We made them. China made them. Uh, France has them. Israel has them. We have them. Crazy. Explosions and smoke reported at the Severomorsk, Russia home part of the nuclear armed submarines was now reported this morning. It is the main base of the Russian Northern Fleet on the Kola Bay near the Barents Sea. It hosts two-thirds of Russia's nuclear-powered submarines, including the Yasen, Oscar II, Sierra II, and special purpose subs. The special purpose subs are typically what's used for cutting underwater power lines, communications lines, or sabotage operations, like possibly what happened with Nord Stream, though I'm pretty sure NATO did that. Right, over in Turkey, Turkish intelligence captured the top Turkish ISKP figure, Abu Yasir al-Turki Ozgur Altan, what a name, near the Pakistan border. This gentleman was used or his job was moving terrorists from Europe to Afghanistan and then to Pakistan. He led ISIS media and logistics, ordered attacks on concerts, and produced propaganda. He was a major threat to Turkey and was neutralized by the Pakistani intelligence support. Typically, that word neutralize is not good. Over in China, a video has surfaced on social media that originated from this one Chinese village of Chinese farmers that are converting the spraying drones. So they're these very, very large, heavy capacity carrying drones that would be used to go over rice fields or farming industry and spray crops. And now they're being converted into turning them into multi munitions bombers. Yeah, everybody's going to drones. Everybody is going to drones. Over in Britain, the British Prime Minister Starmer said that we will deliver the largest sustained increase in defense spending since the Cold War. At the Black Sea Security Forum in Odessa, British Colonel Richard Kemp calls for arming Ukraine with nuclear weapons, reported and endorsed by Ukrainian. I can't pronounce your name, Ivan, whatever. The United Kingdom public figures are now openly entertaining giving nuclear weapons, which means nuclear escalation in Europe. British government wants to purchase fighter jets capable of firing tactical nuclear weapons. Britain is currently considering buying American F-35 Alpha jets as carriers of their B-61 nuclear bombs. The British government has announced a 1.5 billion euro investment to build at least 6 new munitions and energetics manufacturing facilities, weapons making facilities, alongside the procurement of up to 7,000 domestically produced long range weapons. So, as you can see, there is no peace anywhere being talked about. And I'm just going to bring back one of the things that he told us all when he was, running for president, that the moment he becomes president, the first day he will end the war in Ukraine and Russia. Well, that hasn't happened. And then he was interviewed by some lefty media and called him out on it. And he said, "Of course I can't do that. I was being sarcastic." I'm pretty sure that's a direct quote because I've had to watch it a couple times and discussed. Here's my 2 cents on this entire thing. Train, prep, and pray. Get closer to God every day. Praise God when he convicts us, when he draws us closer to him. when he brings forth miracles in our lives, when he draws the brethren together. Continuously give all of your burdens to the Lord. Don't ever end that conversation with God, friends. Don't ever end it. Um, Training wise, obviously, we offer training. It's on the website right now. I think we got a new training event in August, ladies training event only in September. And then December, we'll have the last of the year's training. But go get training from anybody, anywhere. Make sure they're actually accredited. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. Learn how to use your weapons safely in a proper manner and prepare to the best of your ability. I don't think you should go out and buy tens of thousands of dollars worth of stored food. I think you could use that money elsewhere. That's just me. Because I'm telling you right now, the last thing you want to do is live on like a couple months of MREs. You're going to destroy your intestinal system by doing that. Prepare wisely. Ask the Lord where this money should go. And don't move until you get something. Obviously, cover the basics, the beans, bullets, the band-aids, the stuff you need for the kids. Fix your cars if you have the ability to. Fix your homes if you have the ability to. You're either gonna bug in or bug out, and that's your only 2 real options, or create a community where you can all be there and be supportive of each other. Um, Hindsight's 2020. People tend to freak out and go on their own, but we as Christians, even with all that food you may have store up, there may just be one person. You never know, the Lord may be leading an entire group of people to you so that you can feed them. So, in terms of your preps, don't become selfish with this. Give all thanks to the Lord for all things and just do as you're led by the Holy Spirit. And that's what I do. I just stopped asking questions a long time ago. Lord says, I need to get this, and I need to get this, and I need to get this. And we'll just sit and wait until we need to use it. Um, yeah, yeah, news is getting crazy. We're going to read from Micah 2. Oh, last thing in terms of preparation, go to the gym, get in shape. It's never too late to get in shape. Running is free, push ups are free. Get out there, get a sweat on, get in better shape, get off all this nasty, horrible medications that you can. I know some things you can't, but do your best to be in the best presentable shape possible. Not because we're going to be out there, fighting with shovels against the kamikaze freaking North Koreans. But I know everyone wants to live in that world and scream Wolverines on the top of Kmart. But you gotta be thinking about, like, the real actual things that are happening. If you wanna be in a world of hurt when you're having to move long distances through the woods with a lot of people, maybe a lot of weight, maybe kids, go through points of time where you're going through all different kinds of elevation, um, dehydration, malnutrition, disease. If you wanna ensure that you will not survive and have a very, very unhappy time, stay out of shape. I promise you, it is not hard to get in shape. It's not a daunting task. After you get done watching this today, go for a 45-minute walk, sweat, do it every day, do it 2 to 3 times a day. A body that stays in motion stays in motion. Movement is life. Get in shape. Strong people are harder to kill. That's all I got to say about it. All right, Micah chapter 2. Woe to evildoers! Woe to those who devise iniquity and work out evil on their beds. At morning light they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence. All houses and seize them, or also houses and seize them. So they oppress a man and his house, a man and his inheritance. Therefore, thus says the Lord, behold, against this family I am devising disaster. from which you cannot remove your necks, nor shall you walk haughtily. For this is an evil time. Anyone think we're living in an evil time right now? In that day, one shall take up a proverb against you, and a lament with a bitter lamentation, saying, we are utterly destroyed. He has changed the heritage of my people, how he has removed it from me. To a turncoat he has divided our fields. Therefore, you will have no one to determine boundaries by lot in the assembly of the Lord. To the lying prophets, do not prattle. You say to those who prophesy. So to prattle from the Strong's Concordance means to preach, prophesy. So do not prattle. You say to those who prophesy, so they shall not prophesy to you. They shall not return insult for insult. You who are named the house of Jacob, is the spirit of the Lord restricted? Are these his doings? Do not my words do good to take him who walk uprightly, or excuse me, to him who walks uprightly? Lately, my people have risen up as an enemy. You pull off the robe with the garment from those who you trust as they pass by, like men returned from war. The women of my people you cast out from their pleasant houses, from their children. You have taken away my glory forever. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is defiled. It shall destroy, yes, with utter destruction. If a man should walk in false spirit and speak a lie, saying, I will prophesy to you of wine and drink, even he would be the prattler of this people. Israel restored. I will surely assemble all of you, O Jacob. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together like sheep of the fold, like a flock in the midst of their pasture. They shall make a loud noise because of so many people. This part, verse 13, always it gives me goosebumps every time I read it. Last night, I came home from the gym at like 2:30 in the morning. It was a super late night. I was the only person in the gym for like 2.5 hours. And that's what I heard coming home. The breaker, Jesus, the breaker. I was so excited about hearing from the Lord again. I almost stopped and cried. But I had to go and look it up. And this is what I was led to. Micah 2, verse 13. The one who breaks open will come up before them. They will break out, pass through the gate, and go out by it. Their king will pass before them with the Lord at their head. Jesus is the breaker. He is the breaker of chains, of every condemnation, of sin, of death, of violence, of evil, sadness, and disparity. He will break it all asunder, my friends. He will surely free the prisoners. He said he would not leave us as orphans. But I give a stern warning to you. Should you not abide in him, you will be caught between the hammer and the anvil. Which one of the breakers do you want to meet? God protects his own. I'll say that again. God protects his own. The iniquity of the wicked man, it won't last forever. He may have his just rewards right now, but he won't have them forever. And every one of them will fall. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. End with 2 Samuel chapter 22. 2 Samuel chapter 22. Praise for God's deliverance. Then David spoke to the Lord the words of this song on the day when the Lord had delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. And he said, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the God of my strength in whom I will trust, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold and my refuge, my Savior. You save me from violence. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death surround me, the floods of ungodliness made me afraid. The sorrows of Sheol surrounded me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried out to my God, and he heard my voice from his temple, and my cry entered his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven quaked and were shaken because he was angry. Smoke went up from his nostrils and devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. And he bowed the heavens also and came down with darkness under his feet. He rode upon a cherub and flew, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness canopies around him, dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. From the brightness before him, coals of fire were kindled. The Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. He sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning bolts and vanquished them. A lot of people ask me, Doug, what do the lightning bolts mean on the American Vindicta symbol back there? Well, you just read it. Where do you think the lightning bolts come from? They're the Lord's. The channels of the sea were seen. The foundations of the world were uncovered at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above, he took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from those who hated me, for they were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He also brought me out into a broad place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Amen. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he has recompensed me. For I have kept the ways of the Lord and have not wickedly departed from my God. For all his judgments were before me. And as for his statutes, I did not depart from them. I was also blameless before him, and I kept myself from iniquity. Therefore the Lord has recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his eyes. With the merciful, you will show yourself merciful. With a blameless man, you will show yourself blameless. With the pure, you will show yourself pure. And with the devious, you will show yourself shrewd. You will save the humble people, but your eyes are on the haughty, that you may bring them down. For you are my lamp, O Lord. The Lord shall enlighten my darkness. For by you I can run against a troop. By my God, I can leap over a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The Lord, the word of the Lord is proven. He is a shield to all who trust in him. For who is God except the Lord? And who is a rock except our God? God is my strength and power, and he makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me on my high places. He teaches my hands to war so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. You have also given me the shield of your salvation. Your gentleness has made me great. You enlarged my path under me so my feet don't slip. I pursued my enemies and destroyed them. Neither did I turn back again till they were destroyed. And I have destroyed them and wounded them so that they could not rise. They have fallen under my feet. For you have armed me with the strength for battle. You have subdued me, or you have subdued under me those who rose against me. You have also given me the necks of my enemies so that I destroyed those who hated me. They looked, but there was none to save, even to the Lord, but he did not answer them. Then I beat them as fine as the dust of the earth. I trod them like dirt in the streets, and I spread them out. You have also delivered me from the strivings of my people. You have kept me as the head of the nations. A people I have not known shall serve me. The foreigners submit to me. As soon as they hear, they obey me. The foreigners fade away and come frightened from their hideouts. The Lord lives. Blessed be my rock. Let God be exalted, the rock of my salvation. It is God who avenges me and subdues the peoples under me. He delivers me from my enemies. You also lift me up above those who rise against me. You have delivered me from the violent man. Therefore, I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the Gentiles, and sing praises to your name. He is the tower of salvation to his king, and shows mercy to his anointed, to David and his descendants forevermore. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, listening, supporting us. Please continue to pray for us. As many know, we are packing up the house, the homestead, for a very, very long awaited move to a place where the Lord wants us to go and establish a church, bring healing back to the people, bring the congregations back together. I look forward to every bit of it. I look forward to every trial, every tribulation, every persecution, to every bit of joy that we get with meeting all of you someday. Please support one another in your prayers. Support those that you can that are around you. Make sure when people meet you, when they talk to you, when they see the goodness of Christ in you. Nothing else matters. It's all for loss. I count all the things that I did in my past as a loss for the simple knowledge that I have obtained through the love and redemption of Jesus. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. Stay frosty. See you next time.